How's it going, everybody? I'm the BTC Reaper. My goal on this channel is to teach you how to reap the rewards of trading, whether the price is going up or down. Ripple asked the court to reject the SEC's $2 billion in claims. So they say that this is to intimidate digital asset markets. They say that $876 million in civil penalties is exorbitant. It shouldn't be that much. There's a maximum of $10 million. So they are saying that the SEC really doesn't know what they're charging or why, and this is just them trying to strong-arm the industry. Just in, BRICS countries model stablecoin for trade settlement. So the foreign minister, Sergei Rakov from Russia, disclosed a plan for the bloc to consider stablecoins for international settlements. This is in addition to the BRICS bridge that will support interoperability of CBDCs. His de-dollarization effort is because of rising inflation and the economic slowdown here in the US. So likely this is going to continue as people like Powell want to trigger a recession, and that's just going to make the economic slowdown worse. Over on the Dixie for the daily, we are pulling back. We did break away from our pattern, most likely due to the news we just covered, so we will delete this pattern. If we continue lower from here, we likely will see the Dixie push down, and then the crypto market may increase. Remember, usually they are inverted. Our stochastic does want to pull back, momentum wants to round away, RSI is weakening, VWAP broke into the bearish territory, and the money flow does want to pull back. If you're unfamiliar with anything we covered, these are using Market Cipher B and Market Cipher A. These are free indicators in TradingView. If you use the ones I have, you don't have to pay $100. Now our stochastics are double line. We have our orange line and a blue line. When our orange is above blue, we are bearish, meaning we can decrease. This stochastic gives the RSI, the red line, the relative strength index, its strength. As the relative strength index or RSI weakens, price action typically follows. It shows if we are overbought or oversold. If we are coming from overbought, we are typically going to sell off and become oversold eventually. Our VWAP is pulling back. That's this yellow wave. That yellow wave is our short-term buying and selling pressure. As that starts to become more bearish, meaning we sell off and below this neutral, then our momentum, our big blue wave, can round away and become more bearish as well. Then we have our money flow, which is more of the long-term buying and selling pressure. When this flips red like it is right now, we have the possibility of a trend reversal. So we could see the bears break us down and create a downtrend like back here. I would exercise caution and watch very closely. Over on the 4 hour, we are pulling back. Our green EMA is below that yellow EMA, so I would watch if we continue lower here. We likely will sell off. Stochastic is pulling back. RSI is starting to pull back. Momentum is favoring the bearish territory, and our VWAP is favoring bearish as well, with lower lows and lower highs. If we reject and confirm this lower high here, likely momentum will continue lower, and our money flow could break down. That would result in the daily starting to push down as well. Over on the 2 hour, we have a big push down and then a zone of consolidation. This could create a bear flag. Remember, a bear flag is where you get that consolidation after breaking down. So we could end up pushing down lower because of this is a bearish pattern, much like the name suggests. So this pulls us back down to around 105, 239. I would watch that. It was right around that gray EMA. By the time we get there, it could be by the black EMA, which is our 300 EMA. Remember, if we make a break through that 300 EMA, the bears could gain some significant strength, and we could see a stronger rejection to lower areas. Remember, there are gaps below us, like at the 101 area still. Over on this 1 hour, RSI is flat. Stochastic does want to push forward, so if our stochastic can rebound, gain above 30, and remain above 30, then price action could snap back forward. But if the stochastic kind of wavers and cannot break through, then the VWAP rolls away and breaks for a bearish trend. We will see the momentum make our money flow weaken, and then price action likely will get that breakdown. We're just above this 300 EMA on the 1 hour, so I would watch for a drop down to it and a break. If we make that break and we cannot regain support above it, then it's very likely we could see lower price action. Again, we do have like the 101 area and lower areas like that. We have a consolidation range right around this 104. We have a consolidation range right around this 105, 262. There's a mini gap there, so that could be where we come back down in confluence with our pattern. Over on the total for the daily, we kind of whipped around each way. We will jump to the 1 hour just to see how this pattern played. We did have this support resistance area. Our wick does not show any push down toward this. We are going to delete this. Remember, we said watch for a push down. We did meet support at the top of our range, so hopefully you're watching for that. And then we continued forward. If we can stay above the support level at 674, that does give us the potential to continue forward. Our VWAP is pulling back, money flow is rounding away, and momentum wants to weaken, so watch our VWAP closely. If the VWAP favors bearishly here, we would see lower price targets. If we end up seeing that happen, we would see the higher time frames start to break down as well, so I would exercise caution. Over on Bitcoin dominance for the daily, we are starting to pull back. We are trying to break our blue EMA. If we continue lower, we likely will get pushed to that point control. RSI is rounding away, momentum is weakening, stochastic's pushing down, VWAP is favoring the bearish territory, and the money flow does want to round away. If that VWAP remains bearish, momentum will continue lower, and that money flow could get a breakdown, so I would watch the lower time frames very closely. Again, we don't have to see Bitcoin drop too drastically just because dominance decreases, but this is not good if Bitcoin does keep decreasing over the rest of the market. Over on our 4-hour, we are pulling back, stochastic's pulling back, RSI does want to weaken, we're trying to bounce with stochastic rounding, but that's a little loose. Momentum does want to pull back. We did break the bearish territory after trying to break bullish, and that VWAP got a rejection as well. If our VWAP and momentum continue lower, money flow will continue lower, and we will see that daily start to break down. That will give us a push near that 300 EMA if we're not careful. Over on this 2-hour, we did get pushed just below our gray EMA. We did manage to push above it. Now we're trying to break it. If we break this EMA, it's very likely we will make the push to that 300 EMA. If we break that 300 EMA, then it's likely we could push down if we cannot hold above it after breaking it. Stochastic does want to pull back, is trying to push forward. RSI is trying to gain some strength, but if the stochastic does not break above 30, that RSI could start to pull back. VWAP does want to round just under the neutral. Momentum is pulling back, and the money flow is in a bearish trend. If this continues, we likely will see this 2-hour start to push lower. Over on our 1-hour, we did break that 300 EMA pretty brutally here. We are starting to consolidate, so a consolidation after a breakdown, remember, is a bear flag that can push you lower if we're not careful. So that could result in Bitcoin selling off more. It could result in Bitcoin and total selling off more. Remember, there's different kinds of scenarios that can happen. But this could push us down to our 54.75, or 54.57, sorry. Stochastic does want to run up, RSI is pulling back, VWAP wants to round away, money flow does want to break down, and the momentum is pushing forward. But if that VWAP does not remain bullish, we likely will see this channel pull us lower, and we will see the bear flag break down. We're on Bitcoin futures for the daily. We are trying to retest this EMA. If we break this EMA, we likely will get pushed down below our 65K. However, if we're able to see strong green candles after this indecision candle, then we may make a break of our point control and attempt to continue forward. Stochastic does want to round, RSI is flat, VWAP is starting to round away, money flow is pulling back, and the momentum does want to round, so overall I would exercise some caution here. Over on the 4-hour, we do have a run up and a consolidation, so this could be a bull flag, the opposite of the bear flags we've been drawing on the other things we were covering, so this could end up bringing us forward. If we're able to push forward, that may give us a break of that resistance area, so that could be very positive. Watch the lower time frames, see if they remain bullish. Our VWAP here does want to pull back after rejecting a cross to the bullish side. If our VWAP cannot cross to the bullish side, momentum likely will continue lower, money flow will continue to pull back, price action will break down, and as futures leads Bitcoin, Bitcoin would decrease then. Stochastic wants to pull back, RSI is flat, but if that stochastic continues lower, that RSI could get a breakdown. Over on the 4-hour, we do have a green dot that tried to bring us forward and then we rejected. That's why I'm not very keen on those green dots. RSI is pulling back, stochastic's overall weakening. We have a bit bearish divergence here as price is consolidating, so watch for that bearish divergence to break us down. Bearish divergence typically means price action can decrease, but you do see them in an uptrend even though you won't decrease. So exercise risk. Remember, nothing's 100% in trading. Stochastic wants to round away. We do have those lower highs as price is pretty flat. That's what creates that divergence. Our orange is above blue, so I would watch. RSI could pull back. VWAP is in the bearish territory. If we cannot create a higher low with a higher high, momentum would not push forward and money flow will not cross bullish. If our VWAP rejects here and gets a lower high instead, momentum will break down, money flow will break down, and those higher time frames would be in jeopardy. Over on this 1 hour, we are starting to round away. We're just above that 300 EMA. We tried to break it, but we're holding. If we can manage to make a strong bounce here, we can still get the push to 69K. However, if we break this EMA and hold below it, it's very likely we would invalidate this pattern. Stochastic wants to pull back. VWAP is trying to push up. Money flow is weakening, and the momentum wants to round away. If that VWAP cannot break through the bullish territory and get consistent or higher highs, then we likely will see the bears break down. However, if our VWAP breaks through, momentum could bounce and the money flow could flip into a bullish trend, and that would give us our third touch to the top, which would be able to break us forward. So watch this EMA very closely. Over on Bitcoin for the daily, we did pull back slightly. We did test this EMA. If we can continue forward, that will be very positive. Again, this retest was expected from last night and is the ideal scenario, because you don't want to just shoot straight up. Stochastic does want to push up. RSI is kind of stagnating, but with Stochastic pushing up, RSI can push forward. VWAP does want to gain strength, momentum is rounding forward, and the money flow does want to gain strength as well, so I would watch for a continued push forward here. Oops, I did not mean to move XRP around, so I just moved XRP all the way to the top of the list. It's number 1 now. But over on the 4 hour here, we are starting to consolidate after getting a break forward. This could create a bull flag that could give us some potential move forward. Maybe we see that push to the 69K. Momentum does want to round. Stochastic is starting to round. RSI could weaken. VWAP is kind of indecisive here, and the money flow is just as indecisive. So I would lean more on the lower time frames and see where that VWAP lands. Over on our 2 hour, we are above our 300 EMA here, and we are holding. If we break this EMA, we likely will see a downtrend. However, if we can create a consolidation and see that bull flag break up, then it's very likely we would continue forward. Momentum is divergent. We have bearish divergence. Exercise caution there. Stochastic does want to pull back. RSI is pulling back with that Stochastic, so if Stochastic continues lower, RSI could bring price action lower. Our VWAP did try to break for a higher high. If we can create a higher low, then create another higher high, we would have a bullish trend. That bullish trend could then propel momentum and money flow forward, giving us that break toward the 72K. Over on the 1 hour, Stochastic is pulling back. RSI does want to round. Momentum has broken the bearish territory, and the VWAP is rounding away from that neutral. If our VWAP favors bearish here, momentum will break down. Money flow will confirm that cross, and we would be in jeopardy of breaking our 300 EMA. Again, if we break this EMA and hold, it's very likely bears will gain some strong control over us. Over on graph for the daily, we did push up to our 31,954, much like we've been telling you, and we kind of stalled out like we warned of. Stochastic does want to round, RSI is flat, VWAP does want to round, momentum is curling, and the money flow is remaining bearish, so I would exercise caution here. Over on this 4 hour, we did hit that 300 EMA, and we got pretty solid rejection, and we are rejecting other EMAs as well, continuing our trend down. So I would exercise caution, but if we continue this straight trend down, that does create a descending channel that can end up breaking us forward. Stochastic does want to pull back, RSI is pulling back, momentum is rounding, and that VWAP is in the bearish territory. If that VWAP remains bearish, momentum will continue lower, and that money flow could break our neutral. If we see that happen, we likely would continue lower. That would put us below these EMA bands, and then we would have this black EMA end up above our other EMAs, which would show that the bears have some strong control over the 4 hour. Over on the 2 hour, we do have that black EMA on top, so I would exercise caution. If these EMAs do not get closer together, tighten up, and then snap forward, it's very likely we could see a rejection. Usually when they do roll together like this, get tighter, that is usually when you see your trend reversal. Right here, they got really narrow. Then we got a breakdown. Right here, we got really narrow, got a breakdown. So just exercise caution because we are getting narrow and the trend has been to break down. If that continues, we could see the market overall drop away. Over on this 2 hour, we are rejecting that 300 EMA, RSI is pulling back, stochastic is pulling back with it, VWAP wants to break bearish, and the momentum is breaking bearish as well. If this continues, our money flow likely will break down, and then the higher time frames will follow suit. Over on our 1 hour, we are heading down toward the 300 EMA, so watch if we break it. If we break that our red and our black EMA, then it's very likely we will continue lower. Ideally, we will get a bounce off our red EMA and continue forward, or start gaining some momentum here. If stochastic does want to pull back, I would watch very closely, as that could start to weaken RSI. RSI is overall tapering off, resulting in us going from overbought to oversold range. But remember, until we're below 30, we are not bearish. When we get below 30, that's typically when we cross into the bearish territory. VWAP did break away from that neutral, and the momentum is continuing lower. If this continues, we will see money flow continue lower, and price action will get that breakdown. Over on ankr for the daily, we are continuing above our 5172, but we have a long upper shadow. Watch out, as that could end up bringing us down. Remember, this shows buyers tried to push us up, but sellers are stepping in and trying to gain control. Stochastic wants to run up, RSI is pushing forward, VWAP's gaining strength, momentum's gaining strength, and the money flow does want to push up. So this could double as a hammer candle. Usually a green version of this typically pushes us forward. When you get the red hammers, usually those are what bring you lower. But again, I would watch the lower time frames. If the lower time frames remain more bearish, we likely will break down. Momentum does want to pull back, stochastic's pulling back, RSI is starting to curl away, VWAP wants to reject this neutral, which could end up breaking our momentum and money flow lower, so I would watch the 2 and 1 hour very closely here. Over on the 2 hour, we do have a bit of a rising channel that could end up breaking us down, retesting support, so I would exercise caution. Momentum has bearish divergence as well, RSI is pulling back, stochastic's pulling back, VWAP's in the bearish territory, and the money flow is weakening, so I would watch the 1 hour. If the 1 hour remains more bearish, we likely will see a bearish trend and a breakdown from here. On the 1 hour, RSI is pulling back, stochastic's pulling back, our blue does want to get above the orange, so I would watch. If the blue does get above the orange, that would be very positive, that could help propel us up, that may help the VWAP cross bullish, momentum then could bounce, and money flow could remain bullish and continue forward. However, if that VWAP rejects here, our stochastic and momentum likely will continue lower, and that money flow could then break bearish. If that money flow remains bearish for several hours, then it's very likely the other time frames will start to weaken, and we will get a pretty significant breakdown if we're not careful. Over on XRP for the daily, we did test our 54, but we're trying to remain in this kind of channel. If we can continue forward here, then we will still have the possibility of pointing toward the point control. However, our VWAP needs to remain bullish, momentum needs to continue forward, and the money flow needs to stay in the bullish territory. Otherwise, with the stochastic rounding and RSI starting to flatten out, we may start to break down here. Over on the 4 hour, we have slight consolidation after getting a break up. Remember, that creates a bull flag that could try to help push us up, so we will map that out real quick. It's not a very big bull flag because price action is pretty tight, but it could end up breaking that resistance, depending on if you want to count just here or here. If you count just the one, you could cut this in about half, and it would give you at least a retest of that 57. RSI wants to pull back, stochastic's pulling back, momentum is rounding away, VWAP wants to reject that neutral. We have consistent lows, so I would watch. If we confirm lower highs, we could see a bearish trend, and that could invalidate this flag and pull us lower, so I would still exercise caution here. Over on our 2 hour, we are starting to pull back after rejecting our 300 EMA. If we cannot break above that EMA and hold, then it's very likely we will continue the trend we mentioned on graph. RSI is pulling back, momentum is rounding, stochastic wants to pull back, VWAP is struggling to remain bullish, so if that continues lower, momentum will continue to sell off, and the money flow will start to weaken here, so I would watch the 1 hour. Over on the 1 hour, stochastic's pulling back, RSI is weakening, momentum is rounding away, VWAP's breaking down, and the money flow does want to push down with it. If our VWAP momentum and money flow cross bearish here, we could see the other time frames start to weaken and get a pretty decent drop down. Remember, we have our 48 and 38 support ranges. Over on algo for the daily, stochastic does want to round, RSI is starting to pull back, our VWAP does want to round, money flow is starting to go flat, and the momentum is curling, so overall I would exercise caution. Over on this 4 hour, we are struggling with our Fibonacci range. If we cannot break that Fibonacci range, it's very likely we're coming back down to our 1618. Stochastic wants to pull back, momentum's weakening, VWAP's indecisive, and the money flow wants to break bullish, but if that VWAP breaks down, momentum will continue to taper off, and that money flow will break down over time. Again, watch these lower time frames here. RSI on the 2 hour is flat, stochastic does want to kind of curl away, so I would watch as we are just in that 30 zone. If we reject this zone, the bears could gain control. VWAP and momentum want to curl, weakening that money flow, so overall, watch the 1 hour and exercise caution here. We do have a big consolidation, could be a symmetrical triangle here, symmetrical triangle, 50-50. We are holding above the 300 EMA, but if we can't break our Fibonacci and hold above both these areas, it's very likely we're going to pull back. Stochastic wants to round away, we have our orange above blue, RSI is weakening, momentum wants to pull back, VWAP has lower highs, so watch for a lower low. If we confirm a lower low, we will see momentum pull back, and the money flow can break bearish. That would result in the higher time frame starting to weaken and a break of this EMA. Thank you for watching tonight's video. I hope you have a great night.